Hi, this is Mark Hughes with your Good Karma tip. Pushing our hot buttons, right? We all have hot buttons. They're crazy animals, aren't they? I mean, they're like out of nowhere, someone says something or does something and it pushes that hot button of ours and we're off. We become partly insane, crazy, we just kind of go off. And that's a good indication that there is a hot button when our behavior becomes so extreme, when we respond in a way that's not typical of who we are. Those are hot buttons. Now, the key with hot buttons is identifying where they come from. The likelihood of being able to get rid of your hot button is unlikely, okay? So for me, one of my hot buttons is when somebody accuses me or confronts me on something that's not accurate, right? I don't mind, hey, if you want to call me and say, Mark, you did this and that wasn't cool or whatever, I don't have a problem with that. But if someone's persistent about saying, you did this and you did that, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, then I kind of like, I get crazy. I go kind of like ballistic. So then I have to ask myself, what is it about the hot button that's provoking me to act this way? Well, guess what? It goes back to my childhood. And that's what we find a lot of the times with hot buttons, that the hot buttons that we have in our lives come from previous experiences that we've had that have created a negative reaction, that have created a negative emotion, where we feel blamed or hurt or disappointed or sad or it's painful or whatever the case may be. These experiences sort of get locked into who we are. And when someone comes along or a situation comes along and it just pricks just a little tiny part of that hot button, off we go. Lunatic, crazy, boy, you push my buttons. So in a relationship, it's extremely important, I think, to help each other identify what their hot buttons are and to be sensitive of that. When in a relationship, if you recognize or know that your partner has a certain hot button and they know that you have a certain hot button, it can serve you well in your communication and in the way you interact in such a way that you're not pushing each other's hot buttons, that you can be more sensitive, more responsive to their needs by not pushing that button. Whether it's trust or, here's one. I had a conversation with a friend of mine in Portland, and we got into this kind of elevated conversation, and I got excited, and my voice went up, and I was, it's easy for me to do. I recognize I do that, okay? She got really sensitive, and her eyes teared up, and she felt sort of really attacked and whatever. And what was great about that was that we were able to identify that is a hot button she has when she was a young girl. Because when she was a young girl, her father, I'm not sure exactly who it was, I think it was her father, would get angry and raise his voice, and she would feel, and you imagine as a young girl being intimidated by this loud, boisterous man. And so for her, anytime there's volume, loud voices, it triggers her hot button. So we were able to identify that as her sensitive point. And what I agreed to was that when my volume goes large and big and you start to feel that, all you need to do is go like this. Just remind me so that I can be respectful of this sort of unconscious reaction she has to loud voices. So in relationships, if you can identify your partners or your friends or whatever the case may be, their hot buttons, it'll help you to be more compassionate and kind and supportive of them working through that. Because with time, by reminding me to bring down my volume, she can learn to, over time, the reality is she may not be so sensitive to it. And when I get excited or someone else gets excited, that hot button may not be so sensitive. All right? So remember that it's really difficult at times for us to completely rid ourselves of these hot buttons or these traits that we have that maybe aren't so favorable, right? But we certainly can learn how to manage them. We can certainly understand how we can identify them when they're coming up. So for her, when my volume goes up, she can recognize that instead of waiting till it's too late where she's in tears and upset, she can simply say, can you bring it down? It's a very helpful way to help improve your communications with a loved one and the people you work with. And anytime you have a dynamics with other people that for whatever reason that somebody responds in a very dramatic, sort of harsh, atypical way, that most likely you've said or done something that's caused them to revert back to something they remember or some experience that they've had that causes them to react in an unconscious way. I hope that helps you, and I hope that you can be conscious in your choices that you make with your friends and your partners and help identify some of these hot buttons that might come up for you as well as for them, and find common ground that you can use and operate from that helps you to have a sustainable conversation without conflict, discord, or problematic relationships. That's what it's all about. And remember, please remember this. Good karma is by choice, not by chance. And that each and every day we have a conscious choice to take the high road and to do what's right and to be the best that we can be. And always, we may not be perfect, but certainly we can try. Doesn't hurt to try. That's what it's all about. This is Mark Hughes with the Karma Institute. I hope you have a blessed day. Take care. As we continue to explore conscious solutions to our world's most pressing problems, be a part of the conversation and subscribe to our Karma Talks channel. Thank you.